Hello, it's my pleasure to talk with the winner of the second edition of the Piazza Grande Religion Journalism Award, established and organized by the International Association of Religion Journalists and the Foundation for Religious Sciences, John 23rd. But before we start, I would like to make a short remark. I was the member of the jury this time, and our award aims to promote journalism excellence and best practice in this field, religion and spirituality. And you often hear from the jury members, the phrase, there were some so good articles and it was so hard to choose. But really, it was the case in a sense that in time where journalism is facing numerous challenges and pressures, and where the quality and standards of work often suffered, we received some outstanding journalist pieces, and it was truly gratifying for me to read these in-depth analyses, which were so skillfully written, as it is the work of the reader, Amanda Coakley, and she received the first prize for her article, Graduates of God. Hello, Amanda.
Hello.
And at first, could you present yourself a little bit?
Of course. But first, I'd really like to thank you for this honor. I submitted my article and didn't expect to win, so I was really delighted. So thank you very much, and to all the members of the jury for reading the piece and giving me this prize. So a little bit about me. My name is Amanda. I am from Ireland, a country that has had its own complicated relationship with religion. And for the last number of years, I have covered Central and Eastern Europe, mainly Central Europe. And I started as a TV news producer in London, first for an American broadcaster and then for a UK broadcaster. And then I went freelance because I wanted to write. And I freelanced for a number of different publications, both based in the UK and in the US. And then I joined a US based nonprofit newsroom called Coda Story, and I've worked with them for the last number of months from a base in Warsaw. And that's really me. And in addition to kind of my journalist work, I'm also a Europe's Futures Fellow at the IWM in Vienna, and my work at the IWM has focused on ultra-conservatism in the region.
Yeah, and then we are coming to your article. So what is it about, and how the process of writing, of doing it went?
So the idea for the article came from my work at the IWM. I have been looking at ultra-conservatism, the kind of rise of ultra-conservatism across Central Europe and a bit in Eastern Europe. It weaves throughout the region. And I think the organization Ordo Iuris kind of popped up in my radar very early on. And when you look at reproductive rights in particular, you're of course drawn to Poland, especially after the Constitutional Tribunal ruling in 2020 that effectively outlawed abortion. And I began looking at why this happened, who was pushing for this change, and members of the organization Ordo Iuris popped up again and again, and I began asking questions. Who are these people? And I came across an organization. They are a legal organization. They promote they would say conservative values, and reproductive rights has been a key issue for them for several years. And it's an organization that is full of incredibly intelligent people who work very hard, who are very sophisticated, and they have successfully used their intellect and their firepower to push forward the rolling back of reproductive rights in Poland. So they supported all along the way since, if you remember the Black protests in Poland the years previously, when there was a serious threat against reproductive rights, women and men took to the streets to protest across the country. Order Juris had been involved in that legislation, and then when that was kind of put on the back burner by the government, they continued to work on this issue, and they began, developing legal arguments that would lead to the rollback of reproductive rights in Poland. And so that was kind of the group. And then I noticed one day that they had launched their own kind of educational institution to teach the next generation of lawyers. And I thought, wow, this is this organization thinking real long term. They're not thinking in kind of election cycles like Polish politicians are. They're thinking in generational cycles. And then I wanted to meet a student. I of course I wanted to speak to the heads of the organization itself, but I wanted to speak to a student and figure out why they had enrolled in this course to become a lawyer in this way. And I set out to tell that story.
Yeah. And what were the challenges? Like the challenges in terms of very, let's say technical challenges, or maybe some challenges in terms of finding the people who or students who want to talk, but also if there was some kind of inner challenges in a way, how to balance, how to write, how to.
So the challenges in terms of access, it was really okay. I found the protagonist via Instagram and reached out to her on DMs, and we spoke a little bit. She then went to she didn't tell me she was going to, but I knew she was going to go to the heads of the college and ask for permission. Later, they emailed me to say that, they were aware I was already speaking to a student when I asked them for comment. So I knew that I knew she was going to go and ask for permission, and if they said no, she wouldn't speak to me. And just from a journalism ethics point of view, I was also very aware that I didn't want to push that. So I didn't want to, because it's a very small college, I didn't want to kind of make her uncomfortable doing something, because she was only 18 or 19, excuse me. So I didn't want to push her into it. So but thankfully she was very open to it. And this is also a trend that actually I find across the region when I speak to people from these organizations. They're very happy to engage with the media. They are not kind of, they will sit down, they will talk to you. They're usually kind of very well media trained. And so she came to the interview very just prepared, with clearly she was very solid on kind of her story, and was not going to get into kind of, say, big deep religious arguments. So I think she that was access to her. Then in terms of the writing itself, I felt that I had a duty to the reader to present these people and their beliefs in a truthful way, and to keep my own beliefs about this organization kind of out of the picture. As I said earlier, just so I'm clear as well, Order Juris itself hasn't set up this college. There is a separate organization which has links to Order Juris. So, but I wanted to present these people, I felt, as they are, which are, very smart and very dedicated. And I wanted to show about how, while they are, on a road to roll back reproductive rights, and on a road to roll back the rights and freedoms of the LGBTQ+ community, they're not doing it through religious arguments. They're not talking about the Bible, or they're not talking about any of that. They're talking about the law, and they're using the law to support their ultra-conservative agenda. And there's a very big difference. And so I wanted to show that it is not just, I wanted to show the complexities of the situation, and about how it's not kind of a big, deep religious dialogue, because people do have religious beliefs which bring them down the path of saying that they cannot support certain reproductive rights because of their religious beliefs, and that is a genuine religious belief. But these people are in a different camp. They're pushing forward an ultra-conservative agenda through using the law, and are kind of happy for the religious conversations to kind of cover it all. So I thought there was a lot of depth and nuance, and that was definitely a challenge in writing this piece.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and how you explain that, and the article is very interesting as well, and it's very interesting also in terms of its, not say applicability, but in terms of parallels with some other countries and other trends. But before we started recording this conversation, we talked a little bit about the importance of religion journalists and reporting about religion, and how people sometimes do not realize why it's important. So could you tell me your opinion on it?
Yes, I've always been interested in religion. As I said earlier, I'm from Ireland, and I just grew up kind of towards the end of a period that can be called Catholic Ireland, where the church had a big influence in society, and have always been curious about, you know, the lines between real belief and power, and the role religion plays in people's lives, but also in literature and in every different facet. So when I went to the IWM, I was drawn to this ultra-conservative question. And then I started looking around. You know, once you start, you can't stop, in a way. Like, you start seeing different stories. And I think what I found was that in religion journalism in Central and Eastern Europe, I think it is quite underreported. I think that there is a tendency that unless it's a very snappy story that's very clear, that people tend to kind of shirk away from it, or that it mightn't be as engaging. But I do think that religion is still an ingredient in many people's lives, not just in Europe, but across the world. And it can take many different shapes and forms, religion and spirituality as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be organized religion. But in the case of organized religion, for the sake of this argument, I found that, you know, everywhere I looked, the Catholic Church was somewhere rumbling around in the background. Look at Poland, for example. It's very prominent in society. But then it's super interesting about how the Polish Catholic Church, they're kind of at times testy relationship with the Vatican. And as I was saying before this call, you know, the Vatican's response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and how they how they have responded to that is also incredibly interesting, and what that means for the church as a whole. But then, of course, the Orthodox Church, I just find it a very fertile ground for stories. And even in Poland, it's been really interesting how, say, the Polish Orthodox Church has responded to the Ukrainian refugee community, and how that has kind of, you know, changed the Polish Orthodox Church, people were telling me, in many ways. And that's a important story, because I think as journalists, we're also supposed to talk about communities, and we're supposed to look at communities rather than kind of always big picture ideas. And when you look at the community, I think that religion or spirituality is often in there in some way, shape, or form. And I really like kind of pulling that string. And it's just deeply interesting. But at times very complicated as well, which can be quite daunting, really complicated. So I think that might be another turn-off factor, but it's something that is, yeah, at times underreported, but definitely intellectually so stimulating.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I wish you all the best in the future work. Thanks
Thank you
a
so
lot,
much.
Amanda. Thank you.